Welcome to BCB Live. Yes, we are that safest station in the nation.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive safe, Dave here, along with a very special guest, Robert Sobiek. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing fine. I don't know how to answer being called my real name.
You know, here, Bob is with a trucking company. You're director of safety with a trucking company, and we've got him on the show today to talk a little bit about safety and accidents. But before we get to that, Bob, I wanted to bring something in the news that there is still no deal going on in Congress. It looks like we're imminently heading for a shutdown unless the House can come up with a vote today or tomorrow to end it. I don't see it happening. I know
you don't?
No. The Senate has something in place, but the House is still locked up and trying to avert. I did see that they were able to pass a measure that they were going to look at it and be able to vote on it today. So I'm not even sure what all that means, but it's a procedural vote that was done yesterday, and 3 or 4 of the hard right liners moved out of position and into McCarthy's side. So onto the speaker's side to try to get that vote done today. But you know what? I'll tell you what, Bob, a lot of people don't realize that a shutdown like this means that at our airports, those people, the air traffic controllers, would still have to work and not get paid. The NTSA, all those guys that work in security that make sure on the safety and everything to get inside, they would still have to work and not be paid. That's the ruling on that. They cannot not have their job. I mean, they have to, even if they're not getting a paycheck. There's some people in the military that won't get it. Now, Social Security and Medicare are still okay for right now, but there's some other other things that won't allow them to get the money. Will run out very quickly, especially on some of those people that get money for food and stuff like that. So a lot of those types will be done. Our parks will close. Our national parks, national places that you go to, and all of these places will shut down. And then millions of Americans will not be working and won't be getting paid, especially federal employees. So kind of crazy, right?
It is. I mean, you know, the economy's already struggling, and then now you do something like this. And I'm curious, do they get, like, especially the air traffic controllers and stuff, do they get back pay once they do?
Almost always whenever these things have gone back, they get back paid. But you and I both know how difficult it is to go 2-3 weeks without money. Especially if you're living, you know, if you got a lot going on. And these families are doing everything they can to make sure that they save up to push their weight. We don't know how long this will be. I mean, look at this guy. He went 371 days in space because his spaceship wasn't ready to come back. Beat an all-time record. Look, they're carrying him right now, Bob.
Because of the year of weightlessness, right?
Yeah. His bone density is down, I think, by 30%, and so he's going to have to take a minute to get recovery, but 371 days in a capsule.
Yeah, that smile will go away once you realize the economy and how it's changed since he went up.
Well, the amount of miles he's traveled, you know, I think that thing circumvents the Earth like 6 times a day. I mean,
wow.
So he's been like really moving.
I think that's the hardest thing for me to comprehend is how fast the Earth turns. And, you know, because you're standing here and you don't, and it's just like...
26,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, and it's just like, that's a hard number for me to fathom, that the Earth, this isn't turning nice and slow so we don't get dizzy. But...
Yeah, we seem like we're not going anywhere right now, right? We seem like we're sitting here. Yeah. All right, I'll tell you what, we'll come back, right? And by the way, congratulations to Frank Rubio.
Yes.
On a fantastic journey. You know, he in all good spirits, he was up there for over a year. Many different crews came to the space station. He worked with space astronauts from all over the world. Pretty incredible stuff. I bet his views, you know, he probably had views in the morning. Well, 6 mornings a day. He probably had views like never before, but you know, what a cool experience. All right, we'll be back right after this message. Come back, we're gonna talk a little bit of safety. We'll be right back. What if it was different? We get a bad rap from those pesky lawyers. I'm David Dover. The sledgehammer. It ain't pretty when you get detained at the shipper or receiver for hours on end. How many holidays did you spend over the road away from the family?
Call David Dover, the sledgehammer, to report a driver that's done something right.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Drive Safe Dave here, along with Bob Sobiek, Director of Safety for a trucking company. Okay, Bob, the reason you're on today is that we do here on BCB Live, we do everything that we can to prevent accidents. We talk about safety, we talk about prevention, and we talk about all those things that go along with that. No matter how hard you try, no matter how much you do, Bob, are there going to be accidents out there?
Yes, there is. There's always going to be accidents.
It's the reality of it, isn't it?
It really is. It's like anything. You always have people that do their job, don't do their job as well. And you've got the same thing out there. You've got motorists that will always take risks. They just will.
And it may or may not be the fault of the driver, the truck company, but everybody genuinely needs to have some preparation for when an accident occurs, right? It doesn't matter if you're a dispatcher, an owner, a driver, or what have you. You have to be genuinely prepared in that moment, right?
Yeah, the accident is just the beginning of potential other hazards and dangers that are coming up as a result of the accident, depending, again, how severe it is. All accidents should be considered severe, but, there's just things, and I think the first thing that companies have to have in place is you've got to have somebody else that has a calming effect so that the driver's already excitable, right? And you've got to be able to calm them down to be able to move forward, because there's so many things that you have to do. And you have to have somebody be that voice of reason to, hey, it's okay, breathe. Here's what we're going to do next. Here's what we're going to do next, and just walk them through it.
Yeah, I think, as we continue to talk about this and we evolve this conversation, it really centers around the idea, and we talk about it a lot, creating a process for the accident for everyone involved. I mean, so let's just talk about the driver for a second, because they're the front line, they're in the trenches, they're doing it, and they're right there when the accident happens. This is a moment in which the driver needs to have a plan in place before this thing happens, right?
Yes, they should be well versed on their company policies, what to do in the case of an accident, who are you going to call, right? The old Ghostbusters thing. But you've got to have somebody in place that everybody knows the tree, so to speak, the calling tree, that, hey, this person has to be called first. Once you get, you got your process, call the police, get medical attention, make sure everybody's okay, then secure the scene, right? But then you got to have a person that you can call that knows the processes, what to do next.
Yeah, I think in here, and I'm just going to throw this out to you, this could be, an accident could be the truck driver or the driver's worst day of their entire life.
Yes.
And in that moment, there is chaos.
Huge chaos. I've heard things. The biggest one is when a driver wasn't at fault and did everything they could, and yet when you call them and you talk to them, they are worried about their job. After everything's been secured and stuff, it amazed me that they did everything right and they're so afraid of their job. So you're right, the chaos just creates all these obstacles for that driver.
Yeah, I mean, and there could be so much going on. So let's just talk about what a driver can do to necessarily understand what there's do's and there's don'ts, right, Bob?
Yes.
I mean, there's things that must be done, and then there's things that you mustn't do as well, right? I mean,
right.
There's a whole slew of these things, right? And those should be written down and prepared for before the accident, right?
Absolutely correct. You do want to get the police called no matter what. You do want to get medical attention called no matter what. You do want to secure the scene. You do want to take pictures with a little asterisk there by it, right? But those are probably the most important things, to secure that accident scene. Technically, the rule states you got 10 minutes to put your triangles out and secure the scene, but just slow down the chaos and do that. And then there are a ton of don'ts. Drive safe.
Yeah, it's funny. They can get you doing something so simple as saying "I'm sorry" can lead into an incredible world of difficulty, even though you might have empathy for the individual that might be hurt, or you might have empathy for the people around you. Being apologetic or demonstrating empathy can create guilt, right? Can create a forbearance or an idea of guilt in the scene, right?
Absolutely. I guarantee in the deposition it will come up and they're going to say, what were you sorry for, right? Did you do something wrong? And it's just going to open up that Pandora's box of all the things that you've got to now be put on the defensive. And you want to avoid those. And that's why it's critical that you take pictures, but you don't take pictures of deceased or badly injured people. Because if those get out on social media, you are now can be sued, and you are open up another can of worms liabilities.
Honestly, it's disrespectful.
Yeah, it is. Take picture of healthy people all you want,
yeah.
Just not badly injured people,
right?
Or deceased.
It's disrespectful. You don't want to be disrespectful, and it can lead to litigation. It can lead to problems, and you know what? Sometimes those images just create an idea of guilt, right? Of somebody had done something that somebody needs to pay for. And,
yeah, absolutely
and it can create those ideas. I'll tell you, for me personally, there should be also in there, Bob, for the driver, they should prepare themselves mentally, and they should have a couple of backups. Like in your cell phone, you should have numbers that you must call, and they should be easily to get to, right? And you should be able to find them. I also believe you should have them in your permit book.
Yes, you should have some kind of accident protocol checklist. I think that's a great idea, put in your permit book. Technology today, a lot of the ELDs allow you to put those documents in there so that they always have, you have the backup and you have that. If you only have one, you're already behind. If you only have one source, they always say, it's like when you're out on a hike, you take matches, but you also take flint, right? And other things, because if the matches get destroyed, you're already down to zero.
You're right. And it's in those moments and in those accidents, you can lose your phone.
Yes.
I mean, you could lose it.
Absolutely correct.
And not be able to find it, and you wouldn't know who to call. And if it's in your permit book, typically we can find our permit book because we keep it in the same place all the time, and it doesn't move around. The difficult thing about the mobile phone is that it's mobile. And it can go anywhere at any time and be anywhere. And you may not be. It might be damaged.
That's right. It could be damaged in the accident. Absolutely
break.
Correct.
I mean,
a lot of people have them mounted where they're listening to things, directions or whatever, and it could be smashed up. 100% correct.
It's a good idea. And then also, it's always necessary. It doesn't matter if you're an owner-operator or if you're a company driver or if you're with a big company or you're with a small company or your own company. You need to go over the policies of the company, right, of what to do in the accident.
Yes. And again, most people know what the do's are. I mean, for the most part, they know the important do's. It's the don'ts, You never give your license to another person. The police will get it, and that's fine. You give it to them, but you never give it to the other motorists. You only give them their insurance card. That's it. Right? The police will handle everything else. You do not want to give that information. And you already touched on never say I'm sorry or, hey, that was my fault. You don't ever say that. You let that to be determined down the road because there's always extenuating things that you don't think about that may make this accident the fault of the other person.
Yeah, and then as a dispatcher, and let's talk about to a dispatcher because we talk to trucking companies and the dispatcher may get that call from a person in an accident. At that moment, Bob, that person needs to take priority above all thing else going on, right? You need to put everything else on the side burner because we're talking about an accident, right?
Yes, and the most important thing that a DM, a driver manager, dispatcher, or that first contact has to be that calming voice that, hey, it's going to be okay, and just not worry about freight or the business side of it. It now becomes personal. It should become personal and be able to address it for that driver. Because like you said, that driver this could be the worst day of this driver's life. You just don't know. And so what you want to do is be that reason, be that calming voice, and everything else will get done. But you've got to be that person that can, we call it talking the driver off the ledge sometimes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it scares me, or what I don't want is that, hey, I'll call you back. I mean, that's not really where we need to be. That's not really what we need to do. You can put them on hold for a second while you call someone else that you might want to get involved, right, Bob? I mean, there might be a person that needs to be notified right away, and then but keep them on the line, right? Keep them with you, unless they're being addressed directly, or unless there's a moment in which they have to break away. But you want to be able to communicate with them, and you want to make sure that you're there for them in that moment, because there's a lot that can go wrong, right, Bob?
Absolutely. And the only time that they should ever be breaking away from you is if the police want them for something.
Right.
And then it's, hey, call me back as soon as you can when the police are done with you. Right. But make sure you don't talk to me. Make sure you're not on speakerphone.
Yeah,
when you're talking to that. Yes, make sure if you're a dispatcher and a driver, that, hey, not on speakerphone.
Your business with your company is your business.
Correct, because again, they can't unhear what they hear.
Right, and no one can. I'll tell you what, there's a lot going on. We don't have a lot of time left, but I will tell you, it's important that you follow some of the policies and procedures always set up by your company. Make sure that you're aware of them, make sure that you go over them, and make sure that you review them, because you won't have time to do that, Bob, in that accident.
No.
It makes it difficult, and if you have a checklist that you've already gone over and looked at, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to get the things done that are necessary to make the bad situation a little bit better, right? Because we know that they're not called on purposes for a reason.
That's right.
I mean, they're just not called on purposes. They're actually called accidents.
Accidents.
And because they weren't intended to be that way that day. All right, hey, everybody, remember, this is Drive Safe Dave and Robert Sobiak, Director of Safety, coming at you to live here on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Have a great, wonderful, and safe day. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same channel. We're going to take you to your stations now. Thank you.